Hello, I'm Charmaine Lee. Today I'm going to talk about labels. What is a label? Is that a label on our dress? Is that a label on our property? What is truly a label? Well, the type of label that I am speaking of is how we respond. It is the feelings and the emotions behind the label. For example, a lot of times what we do is that we take time to know that who we are is under a label. For example, how many of you out there have a label of, can I be enough? She can do it better than I can. She looks better than I do. Wow, he has so much more education than I do. I'm not able to do that. Can I be an entrepreneur? Maybe I need to go to college a little bit more and get some education. More education. The education that I have is not enough. These are all part of the labels. I can go on and on and on. I'm sure you're very familiar with these labels. Wow. I'll have to say that we take time to notice our labels. It's well, let me go back a little bit. We take time to notice these labels on an unconscious level. And when I say unconscious, that means it's not something that we immediately discover at the time that this label affects us. A lot of times people will do it in different ways as they hide out, and maybe they may not talk for a while, or they'll be in a crowd and they actually retreat or withdraw. And at retreat, usually what happens is that they'll be in the middle of the crowd and they start to retreat as they back up and they go in a different direction, knowing that they were at least there, fulfilling their commitment, and then exiting so that nobody notices it. So that would be a way that we look at our labels. We look at our labels because we believe that we're not enough. That is one of the major label. It's probably the mother and father of all of our reactions. Now, let me back up some more as we look deeper into the label. Because our label has to do it's connected to when we were very young. So it could have happened any time when we were born to the time that we were at least 5 years old. And I say that that age range because it's so important to know that 0 to 5, we're in developing our way of communication. We have subjective communication and we have communication in the way that we have language. We understand language, however, we're not really all familiar with subjective communication. So here is some things that you want to look at when it comes to a label. When you know that it's not enough, take note of when you start to retreat. Do you pull away from others? Do you tend to be quiet? Do you shut down? Do you tend to attack through conversation because you want to make sure that you're heard? However, you don't want a label that says, well, she didn't participate, or he didn't participate, or he wasn't involved, and I don't know if I can have a relationship with that person because there's no interaction. So as long as you look at the label, for example, as I said, not enough, what happens a lot of times is that is the mother and father for everything that we do. We compare ourselves. So when I talk about competition, we compare ourselves to others. Sometimes we'll compare ourselves to ourselves. I don't know about you. It's looking at ourselves, seeing ourselves, and saying to ourselves within, I could have done it better. Why didn't I do it better? How could I have done this better? Like, for example, when I used to talk to other people and I repeat myself, I find that I would start to go into labeling myself. Well, a label, was I enough? Was I good enough? I should not have done that. I'm never going to be enough if I don't stop doing what doesn't make me look good. Yeah, we can say not looking good is part of that label. But can you see how it starts to expand? How it starts to be the trickle of water that continues to be part of the emotion? Do you see how it trickles down into so many directions, causing the flow not to go through the current of our own energy? Because we, as human beings, will respond immediately to these labels. It's an unconscious level that occurs at all times. It is something that we are, it's not that, it was embedded in us and we just have this imprint that we can't change. But if we are not aware, if we're not conscious to be aware enough to do something about it, yeah, it'll be an imprint that will always be a reaction. It'll be a competition that we will always see that label will run us, will be part of our life. We will attach justification, so we will be good enough. We will attach stories of blame so that it doesn't become our responsibility, but someone else's responsibility. Therefore, what happens is we lose our power. Many times, if we ignore the fact that we all have labels that are subjective communication, labels that causes us to unconsciously respond, to unconsciously react, we need to look at how we are responding in order to know that we are coming from our labels. Our labels are so strong within us. Yes, it's connected to imprints, blueprints, energy stamp, energy matrix, whatever words you want to attach to it. But it's these little words such as judgment, blame, justification, never enough, abandonment, rejection, all labels. There are many more. Find out what your label is. Go deep. Go deep and see what is it attached to. What comparison do you have? Who are you comparing this to? And if you are comparing yourself to your own self, why? How do you stop this? How do you take it forward? Because every time you have a reaction, this label will continue to grow. It continues to grow because we will attach one to the other. It's like having those paper cutouts. When we have those paper cutouts and you cut it out and then they're all attached, we think that we removed all the pieces of paper, but when we really pull it out and stretch it out and see and really look at it and see the truth, we will see that it's all connected. So if you think labels is just separate from one another, take a look again. Because truly, they're all connected. They're not separate. They're connected until you identify what that label is, to release it, to let it go, to go through it, and not ignore it, not suppress it or repress it. Because then it continues to manifest and continues to grow. So as you go through your labels, and if you take them one at a time, you'll see how they are attached to you. Live fully, heal thoroughly,